Hey everybody, Dustin Young here, Lone Roamer, and today I'm going to do a review of the 2021 Stumpjumper compared to the 2021 Stumpjumper Evo. And in this comparison, at the end, I hope with the information you receive, you really can decide which one of these two bikes you would like to have. Now I've got some good data here I want to run through to start and give you really good information on the bikes. All right, so reach, effective reach. If you watch the Stumpjumper review or the Stumpjumper Evo review, you know I place a straight edge across the bars, 50 mil stem, 27.5 inch seat height, and I come up with what is an effective reach. So where the bike actually is from where you're sitting to where your hands hit. And I think that works better than the website versions of reach for frames, because this is how it ultimately comes out where you sit. 24 inches on the Stumpjumper, 23 3/8 inches on the Stumpjumper Evo when in its high setting and also at 64.5 degrees. I did not measure all the options. I'd have been out there for a while. So I was surprised to see the Stumpjumper had a little more reach, other than the intent of the bike is definitely to be pedaled a lot more efficiently with more of a cross-country / trail mannerism. So I could see them making you a little more forward and a little less upright. Okay, so I think there's a reason for it, but they are different. I'm actually surprised that the Evo wasn't a little closer to 24 inches, because I do think on either one of these bikes that'd be the sweet spot. The overall length of the bike, 47 5/16 inches is the wheelbase on the Stumpy, 48 1/4 on the Evo. That's a long bike. So, you know, I think if you move the Evo to 65.5 degrees in the high bottom bracket, you'd bring that in maybe just 48 inches or so, or just under, and you'd get more of a all mountain trail weapon instead of an all mountain kind of trying to be an enduro bike. Whereas definitely the Stumpjumper is point and shoot and turn and fly, and it's ready to go. So I think from that perspective, that's one of the big things to think about. The other thing is the Stumpy, it is no horse link, super efficient. If there's one big takeaway from these bikes, is one does and one does not have the horse link, and it changes fundamentally how they ride. One is a lot less active in its rear suspension when you're pedaling. It's a way more efficient bike. They even use a shock that references that, and you can tell that it is meant to be pedaled hard, pedaled fast, and let you go out and put a lot of miles in really efficiently while still having good trail geometry. Whereas the Evo is a lot more active. You need the climb switch. Without it, you're going to notice a lot of pedal bob on the climbs. You're going to notice a lot of energy loss. It made a big difference to flip that switch on the Evo. I didn't feel like I didn't touch it ever on the regular Stumpjumper. So that is a big difference, and it comes down to the kinematics and whether or not it has that horse link. So from an intent purpose, one is a true marathon style, all day, awesome trail bike, and the other one is definitely a smash bigger stuff, more downhill oriented kind of bike where you're climbing just to get to that, and you're not trying to be fast on your climbs, rather just climbing for the purpose of getting to the big stuff. Now, another really interesting thing is the bottom bracket's a little bit higher on the Evo than it is on the Stumpy. I think the Stumpy should have been a little taller. I think the Evo should have been a lower. 13 inch or so would have been really nice on both of them. But I will also say, because the Stumpjumper doesn't get smashing, it's really supported, it doesn't smash through its travel. Most of the time you didn't notice the lower bottom bracket, and it actually helped you feel more in the bike than up on it. The Evo, you do feel a little on the bike, but because it uses its travel a lot, it's a very light feeling, and overall it rides really well. The Stumpjumper, point shoot. I've already said this, I'm going to reiterate it. When you're coming at something and you feel like just flicking the bike or bunny hopping something or pulling up a small manual and skipping across stuff, it did that really well and really easy. It was so natural on that bike to do that. The Evo feels like a bigger, heavier bike. You basically leave the wheels on the ground and plow stuff. You're not going to spend a lot of time doing great bunny hopping of it. It feels like it's really soft. It feels like it's a big bike. These are things that it feels like it's trying to be a mini enduro bike in this all mountain category, and that makes it a plow. It makes it fast in the rough stuff. So that's really, that's a big thing to think about when you're looking at these two bikes. The other thing that was really interesting that I found, so weight-wise, the Expert was 30 pounds, 14 ounces, so roughly 31 pounds. This is pedals on, all set up, ready to ride. And 33 pounds, 6 ounces, 33 and a half, close to 33 and a half pounds, was the Evo. So there's a pretty good weight difference there. So that's some of what you experience in the climbing also as you're hauling, you know, 3-ish, 2.5 pounds more weight up the hill. It's not a lot of weight. Also, the tires on the Stumpy roll better than the tires on the Evo rolled. So, you know, the tires on the Evo are more gravity oriented, more traction oriented. The tires on the Stumpy are definitely a trail tire. They're meant to roll fast. They're meant not to feel like they're slowing you down. So, you know, I think you could really think about that. Not that tires aren't something you can just change, but that is part of why, you know, as a demo bike, why I felt what I felt. I wouldn't put a light tire, by the way. I would actually want to go to an even tougher tire than the Evo had as a point of preference. Watch the other review, you'll sort of hear why. On the Stumpjumper, I don't know that I would change the tires. I thought they worked really well on it. So I thought they rolled good. They were just a really good tire. Casing was tough enough for the kind of riding you're going to do, and it still rolled super well. So I probably wouldn't even bother changing the Stumpy tire. Now, when we did a head-to-head comparison, 3 of us riding them, I didn't know which bike I'd like. One of the riders, I knew exactly which bike he'd like, and the other rider, I assumed I knew which bike he would like. So the one, I was absolutely correct. He liked the Stumpjumper. That fits his riding style. It makes sense. Totally kind of figured that was coming. I liked the Stumpjumper. I was a little bit surprised that I didn't want the Evo more because I ride this beast as one of my 2 bikes, and my other bike is straight up a short travel down country, you know, race bike. So I was surprised that I didn't just get on and naturally gravitate to the Evo. I was faster on really technical sections on the Evo, but where I had to pedal. So here's a good example. Let's take Auburn. Let's take Boulders to Bathroom section. If you know that, it's cold. You from the boulders at fuel break up, and then back down and up, and then from the tree, culvert, and then, you know, into Mammoth Bar, and then down Confluence, and then back up to the bathroom. So you don't get it's not just the downhill section, it's the whole thing. So, of course, I was much faster to the tree, but once we got to the tree, I was faster on the Evo on culvert. It makes a little bit of sense. There's a lot more steep turns, or, you know, bigger turns, and you're not going to pedal as much. It's a little steeper trail. It's not an old Jeep road, fire road turned into a trail. It's, you know, it's an intended trail. It's got more rocks and things going on, and jump drops and chunky sections and things that the Evo chewed up really well and maintained its momentum and didn't get excited by. How much faster? Are you ready? It's crazy. 4 seconds. Okay, so I was faster, but not measurably enough. The difference is I felt a lot more comfortable. I didn't feel like the bike was getting excited and I was having to manage that. So in the really technical stuff, it handled that really well, and that makes sense based on the design of the bike and the build. Then we get to Confluence. I was 27 seconds faster on the Stumpjumper than I was on the Evo. I'm sorry, that's a big difference. And it's because Confluence is pedal like a freak, oh, small technical section, pedal a whole bunch more, oh, small technical section, one last really good run at pedaling, medium distance technical section, and then pedal as hard as you can all the way to the bathroom. Unless, of course, you're one of those people that once you're at the bottom of the downhill, you don't want to race to the bathroom. You sort of, from there on, you sort of chill and roll on, and, you know, finishing up to the paved road isn't your thing. It is my thing. If it's not your thing, then that section would matter to you. That's a big time difference. And I didn't not pedal the Evo. I pedaled like crazy. But it's just not that efficient compared to the Stumpjumper. Climbing Stagecoach, the Stumpjumper was way more, to get back to the car, way better bike down. Climbing Clementine, climbing up any technical stuff. Even in Mammoth Bar, most of the time, the Stumpjumper was better. And Trail 8 at Sly Park, the Stumpjumper was way better than the Evo, because that's a trail ride. You're spending plenty of time climbing, plenty of time in flats, plenty of time, And then you hit some downhill technical stuff, and of course the Evo starts to shine in certain sections. There's 2 downhills where you literally don't need your brakes on the Evo, where you're going to control speed and brake check a little bit on the Stumpjumper. But again, it doesn't, the time differences aren't really big in that area. What really matters is if you're a trail rider and 75% of your riding is trail riding, I think it really comes down to you can start to see the picture forming here. The Stumpjumper is just the better bike. It jumps great, it's super smooth. I did a lot of jumping on it because it just sort of is that much fun to ride. It likes to jump. And the Evo is just really a very technical, like chunky, steeper stuff. Then the bike really comes alive. So if you're gonna do a lot of trail riding, the Stumpjumper is gonna be the winner. Now, the other person, I assumed they were gonna choose the Evo, and they got off the Stumpjumper and were like, that was a blast! And I was like, cool. And he's like, this would be the bike I pick. And I was sort of surprised because that's not, he likes big, cushy bikes. And, here it does this drop really well. No issues. So, you can see at the landing that it's a little sketchy. It didn't just absorb the landing and go, but some of that's a little bit of rider body position, and some of that's just because the bike doesn't do it as well. But overall, I gotta say, if I were gonna go buy one myself, I would end up on the regular Stumpjumper. Absolutely, hands down, that would be the bike. Because even though I love to go ride trails that are unnamed, I would just handle it for what I do ride them on the Stumpy, and I wouldn't bother with the Evo. Now, again, if you like to ride that stuff all the time, if you're doing gap jumps, you're going 30, 40 feet, 20 feet, you're just, at some point, you're doing all that, I think you're probably gonna need to buy an Evo. If you want to go have a bike that you can take into really technical terrain, to a bike park, all that, the Evo is your bike. But if you're riding mostly Northern California trail, I would have loved to have gotten the top to bottom on Downeyville. Obviously it's winter, so not happening. I would love to time that because while I know that the Evo would be faster in some very specific, very rough sections, the Stumpjumper overall time would probably be so much faster. And I probably overall would have so much more fun. That video would be awesome to have and share here because it would really drive home the point that the trail bike is just more fun most of the time. And I think that's the big takeaway here is this is, if you want to just fly, have a good time, ride at speed, fitness, pedal it out, all the good stuff, go get yourself a Stumpjumper. They did a fantastic job. It's an amazing bike and you will have a lot of fun on it. I hope you really like this video. Please subscribe to my channel, hit like, and I really hope to see you out on the trails. You guys have an awesome rest of your day.